Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Truth Now Talk Show. It's your girl, Patrice Munsell, and welcome to Hot 702.5 FM on your radio dial. Happy Saturday, kings and queens. Welcome into the talk show this Saturday afternoon. I hope everyone is enjoying their Saturday, their weekend. For those of you that celebrate your holiday weekend of Good Friday yesterday and tomorrow of Easter Sunday, I hope you guys are planning to spend quality time with family and friends, and that you enjoy your holiday weekend. Um, Today I'm a little sad. I'm a little somber. I First of all, I lost my voice a little bit because been doing a lot of singing at karaoke. I love to go there and have fun. It's one of my favorite pastimes to do. So I had so much fun last night till I lost my voice, but I enjoyed myself. So I want to start this segment off first. Um, with prayers with prayers and guidance for strength and healing and a speedy recovery for rapper and actor DMX. And that's why I'm a little bit sad, because I'm kind of tired of hearing bad news about a lot of our entertainers in the entertainment industry. So I'm going to read a little excerpts from courtesy of Fox 5 news out of New York City. I kind of don't like TMZ and how they portray a lot of our people in the news. I didn't like the way they portrayed and handled the whole Kobe Bryant story, so I just kind of fell back from TMZ. But Fox 5 in New York is saying that DMX is in critical condition after having overdosed on Friday night, and he also had a heart attack. Everyone knows DMX, whose real name, I believe his real name is Earl Simmons. That's right. He was born Earl Simmons, but we know him by DMX. He's a rapper and an actor as well. DMX is 50 years old. So apparently on Friday night, which was last night, DMX suffered an overdose and a heart attack, and he was rushed to the hospital in White Plains, New York, where he is being treated and is in the critical care unit. Now, some sources are saying, and this is all allegedly because it's hearsay, it's what some people are saying, some people are reporting. Some sources are saying that the rapper is brain dead, and I'm reading now where it says that TMX reported that he has some brain activity. But my take on that is, until we hear from family members for sure of what's going on with DMX, we're just going to continue to pray for him, pray for his healing, pray for a speedy recovery, and pray for strength in, in his family. We all know that DMX has been a troubled soul and led a pretty troubled life all his life, battling his addiction and his demons with drugs. When you grow up in the ghetto in any community, and you suffer so much and see so much loss, and there's poverty, and these are the things, and abuse and trauma, that happened from your childhood. We all know that a lot of our family members and friends suffer with drug and alcohol addiction from various things of their childhood trauma, abuse, assaults in all shape, forms, and fashion. And then when you interject poverty into that, you interject the drugs that was dumped on a lot of the African American communities in the 80s. That that was one of the worst things that happened to black communities and black families. The 80s crack cocaine era literally destroyed a lot of our black communities and black families. And right today in 2021, we're still trying to pick ourselves up from the damage that that has caused. We have many family members and friends that were addicted to drugs and alcohol, especially the crack cocaine during the crack era. And a lot of them now, if they live to see 2021, a lot of them are now clean and sober, doing great, but there is always 9 times out of 10 some underlining issues that comes with being addicted to drugs and alcohol, and it affects your health. So we don't know what health condition and what damage that the years and years of drug abuse and alcohol abuse that DMX has suffered, if there were any underlying health conditions already. So, as a person that has experienced family members that have passed away and friends and have passed away and gone on to glory, that have had brain damage doing a sudden impact of the illness, whether it be a stroke, heart attack, um, and so forth. We know when, if the rumor is true that there is some brain damage or he's brain dead, we know that there can be some issues later if he even survived and there is, you know, some brain damage there, as is being alleged by the news and by certain bloggers that are posting and talking about it all on social media. So, a part of that we have to be realistic about as people, because if you've had a family member that has suffered a stroke, um, you know that if there is some that brain damage and they make it through that and they come through that, that there is some mobility issues, there is some mental issues. The brain damage causes a lot of underlining things even after they come out of, whether they were in a coma or whether they survive the stroke. There's always that underlining issue or long lasting issue that is the after effect of that. So I pray to God that that is not true in DMX case. But the realistic part of it is we have to be real about if it is true, uh, and how much damage, if there's any damage done, and what that will look like for him as far as the future. I saw a DMX interview on Drink Champs not that long ago, and even I can tell, even you know, just from the drug addiction and the drug abuse of him for years and years, I can tell even on there, that he wasn't all the way there to me on a health and a mental capacity. We all know that even if you stop, if you abuse drugs for a long periods of time, and if you stop, or alcohol, and if you stop and you are now clean and sober, there you could still have some health issues. There could be some organ damage. you know, liver, kidney, lungs, heart, uh, pancreas. There can be damage to those organs from extensive abuse of years and years of taking drugs or alcohol. Correct. So that side of it, we have to be real about. Um, he and I feel real slumber because DMX is actually one of my favorite, like kind of, I call him like the newer school of my generation rappers. After I come from the old school of the 80s and 90s rappers, then you had your new schools coming in, right? In the late 90s or early 2000s, mid 2000s. So there was your people like your DMXs, your people like your Mysticals. I actually like those rappers. One of my favorites was the one, Y'all Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind, Up in Here, Up in Here. When I did the stage play, I had a line in there that I turned it around. I did a gospel stage play musical, and I had a line in there. Well, I interjected the line in there, and I said, "Y'all gonna make me lose my religion up in here, up in here." And it was just a funny thing because it got a funny response from the audience when I said it, because I know they related it to that those lyrics in DMX's song. Um, so yeah, when I saw DMX on Drink Champs, I could tell that he was not the young, fresh, vibrant, as coherent, as physically and mentally there as I had once seen him. I watched DMX for a few months because he was going on social media live, because DMX was going through a spiritual awakening, and he would go on social media and he would read these Bible scriptures, and he would talk to people about life, about choices, about different things. And I felt that he was going through what we like to call a spiritual awakening, if you will. And you can go through that and believe in a higher power, a God or Allah, whoever it is that you serve as your higher power. And you can go through the spiritual awakenings and still be battling with your demons. And as an addict, which is a disease, addiction is a disease. Sometimes it's hereditary and sometimes it's not. But an addiction is definitely a disease, and it affects the mental, the physical, the emotional. And I could tell that DMX was going through a spiritual awakening at the same time he was battling his demons. And that's the good and evil that we all battle every day of our lives. But those that have drug and alcohol addictions, it's a deeper and a harder fight for them than it is for someone that don't have a drug or alcohol addiction. So I saw that in him. I saw the spiritual awakening, and I saw the demons, because when he went on to one of those reality shows, I think he was on one of those reality shows with his wife, and he was, battling and going back and forth and talking about his addiction. And I remember I think he got caught like drinking or something on there, or had been drinking on there, and he had just come out of recovery. So he battled the in and out of recovery. He constantly battled and fought with his addiction for years and years and years. And before he became famous as a rapper and as an actor, he had those problems. So growing up in low poverty, growing up in the hood. He talked about how he had robbed before, and did some things to get money to survive, or to supplement his addiction. And but there was redemption that I know that he was seeking. Um, and even with this relapse, I don't know, how long he had started back using, or how long he had been clean, or anything like that. But obviously there was a relapse, and obviously, you know, you don't know sometimes if someone that battles drug and alcohol, sometimes you don't know if they are intentionally trying to leave this earth. And we don't know if that's the case or not with DMX. We don't know if it was accidental. We don't know if he was intentionally trying to leave this earth, because an addiction to drugs and alcohol can definitely make you feel that way, not want to be here on this earth anymore. I've heard many people that suffer with drug and alcohol addiction say it was times that they didn't want to live. They didn't want to be on this earth anymore. And a part of the drug and alcohol addiction comes the mental illness with that. It can be depression, it could be PTSD, it could be bipolar. A lot of mental illness falls under the same line as the drug and alcohol addiction does. And then if you have health issues because of that as well, then that's the physical part, right? That's the physical part of it. So I want us to keep DMX and his family lifted up in prayers. Um, and I know he had battled, a lot of issues in the last couple of years with the IRS, and he was sentenced, I believe, 12 months, yeah, for tax evasion. He last performed in July of 2020 when he faced off with Snoop Dogg in the Versus battle. And I did watch that. I like Snoop Dogg too. I like both of them. Snoop Dogg is the OG, I mean, and then DMX is from the newer era. So I had mad respect for watching that battle, and it was hard to say who my favorite or who won, because I like them both. But I think as far as the body and the catalog, I would definitely have to give it to Snoop, right? Snoop is just the OG. But and no disrespect, DMX came through, and he came through when he came through like a whirlwind. As this out of New York rapper, end up having, I believe, two number one top hits at the same time off of his first album, which was Fire. And when you see all these young rappers coming out and they spitting that fire, that's what you used to, the lyrical content sometimes of the words. It's the things that I pay attention to as an artist myself, and as a songwriter I pay attention to. I love the beats as well, but I love lyrics. I love the lyrical content that some of the rappers have, and some of the songs, raps that they rap on. I pay attention to that as a songwriter, just like I do to the lyrics when singers write songs. So yeah, so just to say that about DMX, and just really, really hoping he pulled through. Um, I really pray that there is no brain damage, um, because the reality of that won't won't be the same for him if he makes it out of this and have brain damage. I know personally from family members and things of what that can do and what that looks like. If someone can be brain dead, let me make this clear, because sometimes we get confused and don't know what's. Someone can be brain dead and the machine is still keeping them alive, as far as pumping their heart, the blood, the organs, keeping them working, and so forth. But if they are brain dead to the point of vegetation state, now you have to ask yourself the question, as the next of kin and a family member, what that would look like, keeping that person in a vegetative state, being hooked up to the machines. That's the only thing that's pumping their heart and keeping the organs going, to keeping that alive. Then there's a part of it where sometimes if the loved one is brain dead, the organs will eventually start shutting down too. I've had family member where that was the case. My grandmother had a stroke, and she was brain dead. There was very little minimum, if any, um, brain activity. And our family had a choice of, you can keep her hooked up to these machines, and they'll keep her alive for so long, or you can unplug the machines and let her go in peace, because eventually the organs start to shut down. Now, I'm not saying that this is the case with DMX. Please do not read that for this. I'm talking about, we need to know the difference in brain dead, brain damage, and all of that. So we did that. Our family made a decision uh, to unplug my grandmother from the machines that was pumping her heart and function and all of that. And some hours later, her organs shut down and she passed on. Has there been miracles? Absolutely. There's been miracles where people have went into a coma, have had some brain damage, and they wake up from it, and there's very little brain damage, and they can still function once they heal and function in society. But believe you me, brain damage causes some ill factors after the fact, if they wake up from the coma or not. It's brain dead permanent, is brain dead permanent when there is no activity. Because I went into the hospital to visit a relative of mine, and there was a young man. They rushed in. He had got shot in the head. This was some years ago, and the family was there. They were crying and so upset. Good young man, I was told, in their family. He wasn't like a bad guy, but bullets have no names. Bullet come out of nowhere, shot him in the head. He was brain dead. The machines was keeping him alive, and the doctors told their family members, look, you want to keep him. He was in and this boy was in his 20s. You want to keep him on this machine the rest of his life, where the machine is pumping him, and just he's still basically in dead, in a vegetated state. He would never wake up. He would never be normal. He would never live a normal life. So those are the things we got to look at, right? But if he was 100% brain dead with no activity, you take them off. They chose to take him off the machine, and he died, and his organs shut down later, and he died. So we need to know the difference between that. I am just very disappointed that drugs is still ripping our communities and tearing families apart and causing so much. So, I'm going to digress and move on to my next subject, because my guest will be coming in really soon. So I want to read her bio. But yeah, guys, let's keep DMX in our prayers. Let's keep his family lifted up in prayers. Let's definitely pray that there is no brain damage done, and that he would wake up and he will be the same or better than what he was before. Because being real, if there's brain damage, any little or a lot, it's going to, and he wakes up, it's going to impact his life for the rest of his life. So our hearts and our prayers go out to DMX. All right, on another subject. I'm about to have a guest come on shortly. So I just want to read her bio, tell you a little bit about this queen, and then I'll go into how we met. So Lanai, I don't think she pronounced it Lanai or Lene. I call her Lene, but Lene Ferguson is her name. And Lene is a teacher. She is a singer, and she is a writer. She has recently become a playwright, right, if you will. She's an admirer of all things theater. Lene has been an ardent student of dramatic arts and songwriting for the past few years. Who knew Phoenix, Arizona, where Lene has made her home since the year of 2000, had so much to offer aspiring playwrights? Lene is a native of Atlanta, and Lene once performed Experience dates back to the summer of 1979 when she was in a musical production of Jesus Christ Superstar. And we all remember Jesus Christ Superstar, right? At what was then the North Side School of the Performing Arts in Atlanta under the direction of William G. Dinsmore. In her spare time, she hones her acting skills while teaching adult business workshops. She has actually managed to make business writing thriving, sexy, and alluring. Okay. At other times, Lene may be volunteering as a radio program reader for Sun Sounds of Arizona or hanging out at a play reading or at live jazz performance. After spending many years figuring out how to put her musical passion to use in a meaningful way, Lene is now writing for musical theater. The the inspiration came from her passion for the arts and can be expressed with 5 words: art at its core heals. I agree. I agree totally. And I just want to say, because in our bio, I read how she is also a adult business workshop instructor, and she teaches the business writing. So to tell you a little story before she come on, that's how I met Lene. My job in Las Vegas sent me to a professional business writing class, and Lene was that instructor. And that's how we met. So I met her in Las Vegas, Nevada, at that particular business writing training class. And we got to talking after the class because we went down and we ate after the class, and we got to talking and found out that we both were lovers of the art, and we particularly both were lovers of musical stage plays. Then she informed me that she was with her partner writing a musical stage play, and that she lived in Arizona and so forth. So we became Facebook buddies, and we talked and text from time to time. And so that's why I'm having her as my guest on here today. She's going to tell you more about that, more about herself, more about what she does in the arts, her passion for it. We're going to talk a little bit. So if we have some listeners on that want to ask any questions, any of her family or friends or fans, any of our listeners on Hot 702.5 FM, and you may be a art student major, whether it's drama, whether it's dance, whether it's as a singer, whether you play an instrument or anything of that nature, and you want to ask Lene a question, you can do so at that time. But yeah, that's how I met her. So when we realized that we had a common love of the arts, we made sure we stayed in touch. And lo and behold, I have relocated to the great state of Arizona. So of course, I reached out to her. She and I broke bread yesterday. We had a really great lunch. We talked so much about the arts. We talked so much about our love for it. So I asked her if she wanted to come on and be a guest. And it was short notice because we didn't have a guest for today's show. But I'm glad that she took the opportunity to want to come on the Truth Now talk show and talk about what she's doing here in the state of Arizona, what her work, her body of work is as far as her playwrights, her music that she's writing for this musical stage play that her and her partner is on. You guys can get to know Lene for yourself on that personable level of the arts and the love of the arts. If you are a lover of the arts, as I am, I mean, I absolutely love anything that has to do with arts. It could be paintings, it could be dance, it could be song, it could be music, instrumental. It could be symphonies. It could be theater. Any form of the arts. I have a love for. And she and I was having a conversation about people that have creative minds like that, that have a passion for the arts, a love for the arts. You kind of eat, sleep, and breathe the arts, because that's what I do as a singer. I don't know how to play an instrument, but if I did, I always say I wish I had learned how to play the piano. But yeah, just to be a lover of the arts and to have those kind of creative minds together talking about that. Our conversation went on for hours yesterday, and it was just so natural. It came so natural for us. So she's going to be tuning in momentarily. So, yeah, that's how we met. And I'm glad to be here in the great state of Arizona. I am definitely networking with people in the arts communities here. I've met some wonderful people that is in the entertainment industry here as well, and as well as already have met Lene prior to that, and now we're living in the same state, and hopefully get to do work with her, get to help her in any way that I can, and assist in anything all that's arts or all arts, more than that too. But I'm specifically talking about the arts now, and being a playwright or a writer of musical stage plays. So she's going to tell you so much about herself and so much about her love for the arts as well. So as she's getting ready to come in very shortly, because she should be coming in very shortly, yeah, so we'll get to learn about that. My partner in crime, Antonita Lachey Brown, shout out to you. She's on hiatus, so that's why your girl Patrice Moncel is flying solo. Antonita Lachey, if you're watching, shout out to you, Queen. Rest well. I understand what it is to be tired, to be wore out from work, 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 work. So I'm wishing you a wonderful, relaxing um, Saturday and weekend, and you can energize yourself, and we can be back on here together next week. So shout out to my partner in crime of the Truth Now talk show, Antonita Lachey Brown, sis, queen, love ya, rest well. And it looks like our guest is coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, you guys please help me welcome Lene. Miss Lene Ferguson is in the building. How
Yes,
are you, Queen?
doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much for asking. How's your Saturday on this beautiful Saturday in Arizona?
It's pretty good. Just chilling, enjoying this Easter
Yeah.
weekend. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I read your bio to all of our listeners, and I told them the story of how we met. I
Mhm.
told them that we actually met in Vegas when you were teaching the adult education for the business writing class, and so
Yes.
they already know that. And then lo and behold, I moved to Arizona, so we always kept
Yes.
in touch though.
That's
So
right.
I want to welcome you to the Truth Now talk show. And without further ado, please go into detail telling our listeners and our audience of how you got started, your background, how you got started in the arts, what led you to do what you're doing now. Just tell us everything.
Sure. How I got started. Well, let me just say that for me, music has always been a part of my life. My family was very musical. My father grew up singing in a quartet. My mother is a trained classical vocalist. I grew up singing in the church. And during my teenage years, I discovered I had a knack for writing poems and writing, and then later writing lyrics. And so I got into songwriting, and have always want have always tried to figure out how I can utilize that passion in some way, more professionally.
Right.
And so fast forward to 2017. I'm vacationing in New Zealand.
Okay.
Having a good time by myself, and it's my last day, my last remaining hours in New Zealand. And I'm twiddling my thumbs, figuring out what am I going to do to pass the time. Down the street from the hotel, there's this theater, and they're showing a musical called Matilda. I didn't know anything. I didn't really know much about it. A lot of people did, but I didn't know much about it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to kill some time. I'm going to go see this show. And I went. I'm sitting there, and from the opening number, I was just mesmerized. And perhaps midway through the show, I said to myself, maybe this is what I ought to be doing with my life. And that is writing, actually, writing for musical theater.
Right.
Came back home, and I was really curious as to what kind of training programs there were out there for this sort of thing. Right. I immediately discovered, within a week of coming home from New Zealand, I immediately discovered a wonderful program called New Musicals Inc. out of North Hollywood, LA area, California. And that following weekend, after returning home from New Zealand, I was in NoHo, this is what they call it, North Hollywood area. I was auditioning for their training program. I got accepted, and the rest is history. I'm now co-writing a full-length musical with a collaborator that I met in that program.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
Yes,
that is a whirlwind. Like, to just say, and it's amazing how seeing or hearing something can inspire you and say, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So seeing that theater musical of Matilda sparked your interest of, you already had the love and the passion for it, but say, maybe this is what I supposed to be doing. So you went from writing poetry to writing music to seeing that theater, and then joined the class, audition, and you just jumped in. You just jumped in. That is so courageous, and congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. It has been so exciting and satisfying, so far. I'm really enjoying it, really loving it.
So tell us about the journey of, okay, once you get the audition, for the training class, you meet your partner. So take us from there and that process into where you are now with this musical stage play that you and your partner have written.
Yeah, so we're actively writing, and the learning never stops.
Absolutely.
So we both realize that we need to continue the learning in the form of coaching and then having mentors. So we both are continuing that journey. I've continued to take more classes because for this particular musical project that we're working on, I'm the composer and the lyricist.
All right, now.
Yes, my partner is writing the script, the story.
Okay.
And I'm setting it to music and the words for all the lyrics. So just as an aside, my boyfriend, his previous career was as a grant writer, professional grant writer. Okay.
Awesome.
And just in being around him, hearing him talk about grant writing, I became curious about grants and what's going on, what's out there. So a little more than a year ago, around January of 2020, just before the COVID shutdowns, I was out there searching, and I discovered that in my own state, Arizona, the Arizona Commission for the Arts gives money to individual artists to help them develop their artistic skill and to help them develop their artistic entrepreneurship.
That is awesome.
I mean, I just found it. I was like, wow, I did not know this. And so this was January. So there was actually a grant opportunity available right then. And it was due on Valentine's Day in
Oh,
February.
wow. Wow.
So I said, I talked to my boyfriend, got tips from him. I want to apply for this. The deadline is coming up.
Right.
Um, so I put together my application, my proposal. I submitted it by the deadline, and fortunately, I was awarded the grant, and it enabled me to pay for additional coaching and mentoring. I was able to hire a musical composition coach. I was just thrilled about that. And it also helped me fund a website that we're putting together now. That's a part of the artistic entrepreneurship part of it, of the grant.
Yes.
So that was such a help, especially not knowing that COVID was just around the corner.
Yeah.
Having that financial support really helped.
Well,
Yes.
that's so good. And congratulations to you as well on getting that grant. Now, this is something like you said you didn't know. And I think a lot of times artistic students or writers or composers um, don't know that there are so many resources out there that they just have to research it, look into it within the state that you live in, that the government is giving all of these grants to. So, with that being said, for someone out there that is maybe an artistic student or a creative mind that wants to be a writer, wants to be a composer and arranger of musicals and theaters and stage, what advice would you give them for up and coming to as far as like discovering and using your resources to find that?
Google has been my friend, and I would first where you live, see what type of arts commission. Most states do have an arts commission. It may be called something else, but find out what that state organization is, that state agency is, and just research the website. See what grant opportunities there are for individual artists. Google like crazy. Grants for artists in my state, in Arizona, in whatever state you're in.
Right.
And that's my advice. That's what I did.
Okay. Because that's what I think. That's what I think that a lot of young, inspiring artists, composers, creative writers don't realize that they have these opportunities that are out there, that if they, like you said, if they did the research by Googling, I know I say the same thing to people. Google's my best friend. YouTube is my best friend. You can learn
Yes.
so much by utilizing these platforms that sometimes we don't think about as to how can I get help to help me do what it is I'm passionate about doing. And I was telling our audience that and
Yes.
our listeners that you and I went to lunch and we broke bread yesterday and we talked about art for hours.
Yes,
it,
we
it,
did.
it, it just came so natural, and the conversation came up, and I want you to elaborate on it. The conversation came up where we talked about how our community, the Black community, need to get back into the love of the classic of the art, the style, the passion, the grace of the art that we saw in the women whose shoulders we now stand on, like your Diane Carrolls, your Lena Hornes, your Pearl Baileys, your Dorothy Dandridges, your Lola Falanas. We talked about all these women in our conversation
Yes, we
yesterday,
did.
did we not?
Oh,
So
yes.
yes, and what that looked like, because I think a certain part of the entertainment industry is getting lost in that part of the arts, and that there is a lane for really good content of this type of art, theater, musicals, all of that, and what that looks like. I remember the first time as a little girl seeing Diane Carroll on the big
Mhm,
screen. I
mhm.
remember seeing James Earl Jones. I remember seeing Cicely Tyson in
Mhm.
theater, on television, on big screen, and thinking as a young black girl, these look like me. If they can do it, we can do it too. And now we know that, right? So there's an industry that is pushing so much of more of the sex selling and not the actual talent and the art. And we talked about that yesterday. So, what is your take on bringing back that love and that passion of the real, genuine uh, grace and style and class, if you will, to the arts?
It is definitely needed. And as you were saying, to your point, Black folk traditionally don't haven't embraced theater for some
Yeah.
reason. And even myself, I think about my life growing up. When I thought about theater, I always thought about performing, and performance just wasn't necessarily something that drew me. It never occurred to me that I could write for musical theater, that was a thing. So there's so many aspects of the arts that I would like to see our community embrace more. And I told my co-writer on this project, I said, I want to write a piece that's going to bring the Black folk out. I want to show them this, how wonderful and how great this is, and hopefully inspire others. Absolutely. So I
Yeah.
agree with you 200%. Yes.
Yeah, and we talked about the times when, when those artists came out to support other artists in the theater and in on television and the big screen, and you saw them on the red carpet. They were dressed to the nines. They were in tux and tails. Like,
Mm-hmm.
now I know Vegas had turned so corporate, but even for those type of shows, there people wasn't dressing up anymore. They was going to see the shows in jeans and gym shoes and flip flops and t-shirts, and and I would always say, because I watched that as a little girl growing up, of the times when the Rat Pack and Ella and Billie Holiday and all of these people, Josephine Baker, all of these people played Vegas, but they came out and they dressed to the nines. Now we'd be lucky if we get out, like you said, and we don't even support it the way that we should. Now, we also talked about how Tyler Perry has left a mark in bringing back black theater and stuff, but that is one said genre. That is one lane that he has gotten in, perfected, and is doing very well in. And
Yeah.
shout out to him for that. But I want to see more of the class, the style, the grace, the poise, the all of that I saw in, because these were women I admired. I admired Diane Carroll. I admired Lola Falana. Those were beautiful black women you saw on the screen. We talked about the musicals that they don't do anymore, like Ain't Misbehaving,
Yes.
Sophisticated Ladies with
Yes.
Phyllis
Mm-hmm.
Hyman.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of stuff that I would love to see come back into theater, right?
Yeah.
Like that good stuff being written and stuff for us, by us, with us in it, and having our 2 cents to do with it. So, what would you say on that? What is your opinion?
Ditto. And I think we do need more. There is just a lack of a variety of perspectives of the Black experience out there in theater,
Yes.
particularly from women. So
Yes.
the fact that the musical that we're writing is being written by two women, and the main character is a woman. um, is we need more of that. I mean, in
Yes.
terms of even in theater world, women in theater, it's so rare still. There aren't enough of us. So Black women, that is such a rarity in
Yeah.
theater, and I think our audiences are hungry for it. They don't know it yet, but they really are, and so
I
we're going
think
to
there's
show
a
them.
hunger for it as well, because, like we said, there is definitely a
Mhm.
lane for it. And
Oh
I
yeah.
remember what is the couple name they just passed? They did so much theater. Ozzy
Yes,
Davis and
yes,
Ruby D.
yes,
Ozzy Davis and
yes.
Ruby D. They were the one of the pinnacle couples as husband and wife that did so much theater. And,
Yes, they
and
did.
but with them and Cicely Tyson and, like I said, James Earl Jones, you will see them in so much theater, and it was just, oh my God, it was so good to see them. And when before COVID hit last year, the year before that was I was going to celebrate my birthday in New
Yes.
York and go and see some Broadway shows.
Oh, yes.
That was
Oh,
always, I've never done that, and I've always wanted to do it. COVID hit, that stopped that, and I'm still going to do it. That is when things open back up. I would love, and I told my girlfriends, I would love for a bunch of us to go for
I
my
would love to do
birthday
it.
and take on Broadway and just
I would
really
love to
go
do
see.
it.
Yes,
I
let's
haven't done
do it.
it either. I have not done it either, and it's on my list.
Well, let's
Yes,
do it. Let's
we're
let's
gonna
do it
do
because
it.
I definitely put it on my bucket list of things to do. So, with that being said, I want to encourage our people, our black women especially, and our black men. And there are some that are making segues for some black, some black theater and black movies and things of that nature. There are some avenues coming. I loved Audra Day in uh, what was it? The state of New York versus Billie Holiday.
Mhm.
The One of our black screenwriters is getting ready to do the story of Mahalia Jackson with Lettuce. He's going to be in that. So this is good stuff, right? They just did
Yes,
Aretha with Cynthia Erivo, and then J
yes.
Hood version is coming, is probably
Yeah.
already on the screen. So
Mhm.
good quality stuff that I want to see like that. So in closing, because we got about 5 minutes, um, what are your last words that you want to get out there and talk about for your listeners, your followers, and just in general support of the arts? What do you want to say in closing?
Probably the last thing, and if you read my bio, I truly believe that at its core, art heals.
Yes.
It heals, and it is so important to support the arts. And if you have a passion and maybe you feel like you don't have the money, you don't have, follow it, follow it. There's funding available for you. There are people who want to help you. It's out there. So those are my final words. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Patrice.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming onto the platform and
Mhm.
letting us know what you're up to, and we expect great things and to hear more of your
Mhm.
name. I want to see your name, as they say, lights, camera, action. I want to see your names and lights, or I want to read about you in a magazine or in the paper of what you're doing here in the state of Arizona. And it's so good that you're starting here in this great state, and I'm here now as well too. So
Mhm.
we will definitely, I look forward to, definitely, if I could be of any help, service, assistance, work with you, I would be more than honored to do that. Please let our listeners and your followers, if they know where they can reach out to you on your social media platforms.
Okay. My name, you can certainly find me on Facebook. My name, Linee Ferguson. That's Linee Ferguson. And then the website that's in development is serveandprotectmusical.com. You can check that out, serveandprotectmusical.com as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Queen, so much. And I will see you soon. We will definitely continue to stay in touch. I wish you and your partner much success in your future endeavors with this play. Of course, I will be there. I will support with bells on. If it's anything I can do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will be more than happy to oblige.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you and all
You
of
are
you.
so welcome, Queen. Thank you. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. All right, you guys. So, yes, before I sign off, I want to thank our guest, Lene Ferguson, out of by out of Atlanta by way of Arizona. She have just gave us some of the best advice that there is for anyone that wants to reach out to try to get grants, to try to be a part of the performing arts. This is your girl, Patrice Munsell. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Truth Now talk show on Hot 702.5. I wish you guys all have a beautiful, happy, and safe holiday weekend for the rest of your weekend. I want to say pray for one another, be good to one another, and if someone cause you harm, try to forgive, let it go, and try to have a forgiving heart because we all make mistakes. We all do things wrong sometimes, but when we try to get it right, that's what it should be about. So I want to say thank you to my engineer. Thank you. I saw you, Queen Carice, for tuning in. Thank you, guys. And I am tuning out. Thank you for keeping me company for this last hour. And I'm going to say bye, y'all. See you next week.